In this case, something to note is that for sectional survey and long-term lease on building, they are similar. So as I demo this, whatever you're going to see, it's almost similar to the data that you're going to use for long-term lease on land, on building. So once you log in, the account is under private use, the private account. So you switch to a licensed surveyor account so that you can be able to make an application within the survey department. In this case, today we are going to concentrate more on sectional property. So once you click on sectional property, you're going to find 4 tabs, namely pending, ongoing, approved, and rejected. So all these tabs on your account as a licensed surveyor have a meaning. And a pending, you'll find that the application that you have made awaits you to finish up on something, either number 1, payment, and then number 2, for verified parcels, we are going to wait on the owner to verify the transaction. So something to note is that for all verified parcels, once you submit any survey process, the owner will be notified and will be required to verify that he or she is aware of the transaction. And ongoing, that means that you have forwarded the job to Survey of Kenya for processing. Then under approved, you're going to find all your approved applications, and under rejected, you're going to find all your rejected applications. In this case, you're going to move forward and make a new application. Once you click on new application, the first thing that you'll find in all processes is the FAQs, which will guide you on what is expected during data preparation and also what is expected on the attachments during submission. Once you read through, I'm encouraged to look at what are the requirements needed so that you can be able to prepare the data. There is the unit shape file, and kindly note there is the unit shape file, there is the cadastral shape file. Those two are shape files that we expect in different zips. That is, you should have a unit shape file that is zipped on its own, and also a cadastral shape file for that particular piece of land that you are submitting the sectional properties on, that is also zipped on another folder. So the other thing we expect is the report, that is the surveyor's report. Make sure that it's signed. The other thing that is expected of you is the compilation file or the computation file, which should have all the sheets that are expected, especially for sectional property. The modification that has been done is on the schedule of unit factors. The other sheets will be presented normally as they are. You'll find that under final coordinates, we'll have the cadastral final coordinates that lists with the columns station, Y nothings, existence, class of beacons, and description. Under unit final coordinates, it lists the coordinates of such points that define the unit corners. So we expect all the unit corners to be represented within the unit final coordinates. They'll still follow the same trend. They have station, Y nothing, existence, all of them are within the same sheet. The next thing we are going to expect is the schedule of unit factors with the list of units accordingly populated under columns, unit number, door number, floor number, unit block number, unit type, unit area, exclusive use area, total unit area, unit factor, unit use, shapefile feature name, and height. In order for us to ID a unit, under the name field that is on the attribute table, you have to give, let's say, for example, letter A to a certain unit. Then on the schedule of unit factors, under the shapefile feature name, we expect the same unit that has been labeled on the attribute table A on the schedule of unit factors. This is to enable the system to link the shapefile feature name against the name on the attribute table of the units. The other sheets, which are theoretical, placings, consistency, all of them should be there. We expect you to have also the floor plans that were initially plotted by the surveyors and endorsed by Survey of Kenya. But currently, since we are on a digital platform, you'll just give us the floor plans to act as a guide during the plotting by the cartographers who currently are responsible for the plotting of the plans. There is also the site and location plan that is in PDF, approved architectural plan in PDF, building permit, and a cadastral survey plan. Something also to note is maybe the actors involved, but the other important bit is the template section, especially on the live platform. Currently, it has been populated with the templates of what we expect with the data that you have prepared. We will find number one, PDF explaining how to prepare the sectional data, a PDF also explaining how to prepare the cadastral data with all the details. Also, we have computation sheet for the sectional property, computation sheet for the cadastral, and also templates for the shapefiles, how your shapefile should be zipped. Because currently, most of the errors that we have noted on the platform, or most surveyors are facing a challenge due to data preparation. So we made sure that we have availed the templates. So for the licensed surveyors who are here, and those who will be preparing the data, so kindly access those templates within the sample templates under the FAQs. It is very important for you to note that. So we are going to proceed. This is the first, this is the dashboard while you are making the application. So you are expected to enter the parcel number. In this case, I'm going to enter the parcel number in this format, Nairobi stroke block. Something to note about the parcel number is there are no spaces, that is especially between the word block and the block number. Then the next thing I'm going to select is the projection type of this job. Is the job in UTM or in Kasindi? In this case, the data that I'm going to submit is in UTM. If yours is in Kasindi, kindly select the Kasindi radio button. In this case, we are going to move forward with UTM. No matter the projection type that you use, that is the UTM or Cassini, kindly select the correct UTM zone, which is at 1960 UTM zone 37 South. That is depending on the job that you're submitting and the area it lies in. The other thing is to enter the developer Ardhisasa ID. So that means that the developer of this particular sectional property should be registered within the platform. So you enter the developer Ardhisasa ID and then click on search. It's going to populate the developer. In this case, for the corporation, there are amendments on this. So on the live platform, you won't get to fill in the corporation or management company at that particular point. And the next thing we are going to enter is the county. My job lies within Nairobi County. Sub-county, you can go with Makadara. And then the locality, we are going to fill the locality, which is city of Nairobi. Some people also indicated as Nairobi area. The other thing that we are going to get to fill is the additional details. In this case, if there are any additional details that relate to the information that you have filled above, that you have filled within the above fields, you can type it in here. You can either be specific with the location of the parcel or something else. The other thing is now to enter the unit documents. In this case, remember under the FAQs, there were some requirements that were needed, and some of the requirements were a computation file, that is the unit plan shape file, and the floor plans. In this case, you're going to scan the floor plans that you have drawn into PDF and then attach them. So under computations, we are going to attach our computation sheet. There it is. And then there is the unit shape file. There is my unit shape file zipped. Under the unit shape file, the zip should contain these particular file formats. Number one, .cpg, number two, .tbf, number three, .prj, number four, .shp, and .shx. Don't add any other file extension. This will apply to both the unit shapefile and the cadastral shapefile. We understand that a shapefile appears to have more file formats depending on the software that you have used. But currently on Ardhisasa, the system only recognizes 5 file formats. Another error that people make here is to zip a folder, whereby you put 5 file formats within a folder and then you zip it. So no, don't do that. Just zip the 5 of them directly without having to create a folder in between. The other thing we are going to attach is the floor plan. In this case, if you have several floor plans, you can scan them as one PDF. They are going to be used as a guide by the cartographer while the cartographer is plotting the plans. So we click on next after we are done with that. And then now we enter the field note cover details. At this particular point, we are going to enter the date at which the field work was completed. My field work was completed on 15th. Something to note also is that the date of completion of instrument calibration is not a mandatory field, since it's up to the surveyor to make sure that the instruments that they are using, they have been calibrated and contain no errors. The other thing is to enter the reference plan FR numbers. In this case, for this particular job, I have an FR that I used as a reference point. So that's what I'm going to check. So my FR is 578 stroke 73. I'm going to input it. If you have more than one FR number, kindly indicate all of them by adding them using the add method. So something to note is even if you add another FR, you can still add more than one FR and you can still remove more than one FR. So we are going to move on to next, whereby we attach the files. Number one, we expect an endorsed site and building location plan. So in this case, I have mine site and building location plan. Here it is. There is the cadastral plan, which is the parcel plan. There is the cadastral shapefile, which is the shapefile for the parcel in which the units lie in. Something to note is the file formats also. They have been indicated there. For the endorsement document, normally it's always the site and building location plan, but we expect the document containing now the three endorsements. That is the endorsement from the county, endorsement from the owner, and endorsement from the licensed surveyor to be attached under the endorsement document, which is optional in case the site and building location plan contains the endorsements. So I'm still going to add it since I'll assume that the site and building location plan is the one that contains the endorsements. The other thing that is required is an approved architectural plan. And then there is the building permit. These are the field notes for that particular field and assigned surveyor's reports. Kindly note, for all cadastral jobs and also for sectional, the surveyor's report must be signed. So kindly print it and sign it before submission. In case you have any other additional documents relating to this particular piece, this particular job, maybe let's say, for example, a title deed or any other documents that you feel they are relevant to this particular application, you can just type in the name. And then the moment you start typing, or the moment you type the name, the choose file button is going to activate so that you can attach it. In this case, this application doesn't have any, so I'm going to move forward. So the next step is to verify the details that you have presented. That is the parcel number, the projection type, the UTM zone, and all the files that you have attached. So always make sure to select the projection type. We find that some people use UTM and then they select Cassini, or some people use Cassini to submit their work and then they select UTM. Always make sure that you select the correct projection type. So once you are done doing the attachments, you click on submit. The system will prompt you if you really want to submit this job, and then you click on yes for submission. So several checks have been done to make sure that the application is successfully submitted. Once the application is successfully submitted, the pop-up will appear, informing you that the application has been submitted successfully. Proceed to make payments. So in this case, we are going to close. If this parcel was verified, then the owner would have been notified immediately, and the owner will also be required to verify that he or she is aware of the survey that is being done. Currently on the system, the applicant, that is the licensed surveyor, and the owner are able to view the invoice. The invoice can either be settled by the owner, in this case for verified parcels, it can also be settled by the licensed surveyor. So in this case, the licensed surveyor is the one who is going to settle the invoice. So there are several payment options. There is the M-Pesa Express, Cooperative Bank, but in this case, we can see the only thing that is appearing is Cooperative Bank, since we know the M-Pesa limit is 300,000. So in this case, we'll have to use cooperative banks for any amount above 300,000. If you click on cooperative, you'll get to view the steps in which you're supposed to follow to make the payment, so that we can be able to submit the job. So something to note is, initially, before the payment, the submit request button was not active, but now it's active since we have fulfilled the requirements. So at this stage, this is where now you find that the first submission is like for saving your work within the system. The second submission is the one now that submits the job to Survey of Kenya. After number one, verification is done. And number two, payment has been made. Because currently, in all survey processes, payment is made upfront before submitting, before the last submission to Survey of Kenya. So in this case, I submit my request. And upon submission, we can see application has been submitted successfully. So that means initially before payment, the job was under pending. But now if I click on ongoing, the job that we have submitted 3 minutes ago, if we view it, we can see that the progress level has increased to 25%, and the application is being processed. So that means that the application is at the DOS's desk for processing. With that is how we submit the sectional property bit on the Ardhisasa system. Something also to mention on how to prepare the data. So the PDF that you're going to find under templates, it will have a guide on how to prepare this data. So make sure you download it. We have tried as much as possible to simplify it, and also to show you how you are supposed to prepare the computation workbook, especially the schedule of unit factors. You can see also the unit shapefile, how we have combined it. And also that is for duplex cases. We have also presented it in case you have duplexes within the sectional property. After that, you'll get a step-by-step guide on how to make the application. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, I'm done with my presentation. That is on submission of sectional survey job within the Ardhisasa platform. Thank you.
So thank you, Sam, for that presentation. I would like to welcome us to the plenary session where we can have questions. I will read some of the questions that have been responded to on the chat. So the first question is from Benedict. How long does it take for the work to be approved? Which plan is required for short-term leases? That's a different question. And I also see there's a request for sharing of the recording. We'll communicate about that at the end of the webinar. So maybe you can respond to those. And if there are any other questions, we can type them on the chat or raise our hands and ask the questions.
So on the timeline of the processing in general or specific to sectional property, currently the processing timelines cannot be stipulated because remember, once you submit your data, there are some checks that have to be done. That is number one, the cadastral checks of the submitted job, and also the mathematical checks. So if everything that you have done conforms to the acceptable jobs, then that means that that job will be finished as fast as possible. But if we have to return the work via the system, because you see the system does the normal checks that were being done on the manual space. It's just that now the checks have been automated to make it easier for the staff members to do those checks. So that means that the processing is dependent on the accuracy of the work. Thank you. Kindly answer on which plan is required for short-term leases.
Okay. Short-term leases, consider the leases that are more than 21 years. Those are the ones we referenced. So anything less than 21 years, does not need to be georeferenced, and they can just use agreements, and advocates can help us with that one. Thank you.
So thank you for the responses. I see his hand is up. Maybe you can go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you very much. I'm a licensed land surveyor and a member of the Institution of Surveyors of Kenya. First of all, thank you for this presentation. I have a few comments to make. Thank you, Sam, for making it clear that at times you may want to take a week to process the sectional job, but more often than not, it may be impractical due to personal or some instances. All the same, efficiency is always a plus, and it will be good for clients to get their job done in the shortest time possible. Now, a few comments I want to make or ask. One is kindly, you can show us how that attribute table looks like, just to visualize what you expect on your end, because previously the biggest issue about submissions has been the syntax of how we lay out the attributes in the shapefile, and two, how the data is shown on the computation sheet. So you can show that to us, the attribute table for the units and for the parcel. Number two, now it's not always the case that registration is done in the developer's name, especially in the case where there's a management company which is converting their long-term leases to sectional titles. How do you go about it in that platform? Number three, please, now let me see. Now it's important, or it's of necessity to surveyors that when a process begins with the sectional plan, or rather with the sectional preparation of the plan, then they want to complete till the end product, which is a sectional title. So they do the groundwork. After groundwork, they do the endorsements at the county, circulation at survey, land administration, land rent apportionment, and finally the sectional plan registration, as well as obtaining the sectional titles. Now, can you kindly summarize to us how the endorsements are to be achieved once the sectional plan has been approved? You've indicated that even an endorsement document is optional, which in my view, I think is, I don't know how the director of survey will consider a sectional plan job if the same has not been endorsed by the county. So kindly show us how you're going to do that, and then what are the processes afterwards. That is, how do we do land rent apportionment? How do we carry out the registration? And then three, is it possible to have the RIM or the registry index map available? Why is it so? So as to, you realize that this plan, or rather the sectional properties environment, is usually under, you're looking at so many people within the same environment. So as part of their due diligence, they want to ensure that the plan is registered. And two, they want to ensure that the amendment has been done on the RIM. So kindly explain if that is available to the clients. That's all from me. Thank you very much.
Okay, so before we receive responses to those questions, I see Sudi on the chat. Could you kindly unmute so that you can ask your question? Okay, so if not, maybe Mr. Chris, you can start us off with the responses.
Okay. I'll start with the endorsements. Up to now, the Ardhisasa system is not connected to the county government. So on the endorsement by the owner will endorse once he or she is connected to the Ardhisasa, he will click yes on the survey. So that is done. The surveyor will sign. There's a list for the surveyor to sign on the attributes table, how it should be done. I think Samuel is just about to show you on screen.
So whatever I have is that I've opened the units that I've submitted on the QGIS platform. So under the units shapefile, we have the unit underscore area and the name. I want to maybe link the name to the schedule of unit factors The name, we have unit A1, unit A103, and unit A104. Maybe we can concentrate on those three. So if I open the schedule of unit factor of this particular job, we said under shapefile feature name, we have unit A11, which has been linked to its unit area and the exclusive use area. So we can see that unit A11, it is in floor number 1. We'll have it site here since this is the demeter, we did not represent it. It's unit, there's the unit type there. There's the unit use. There's the unit factor for that, which has been calculated. And then we have the total unit area, which is an addition of unit area plus exclusive use area. And then we have the unit number, door number, and all that. So something to note is the unit shapefile, the shapefile feature name is the one that links the unit factor with the shapefile feature name. The shapefile feature name is the one that links the unit factor with the name on the attribute table of the units. So what does the system do? The moment the system notices that there is on the shapefile, there is unit A101, it goes to the schedule of unit factor to check the area. So it compares the area of the units. That is, it compares the unit area against the shapefile feature name that has been named A101. So if the unit that has been submitted, let's say, for example, here it is 161 instead of 160. And then once the code checks the unit area here, it finds that this is 160. Then at the beginning of the application, when we attach the unit documents in terms of the computation workbook and the unit shapefile, there is going to be an Excel that will be generated here informing you on the errors. That means that it is going to tell you that the area indicated on, or the area on shapefile unit A11 is not conforming to that is stated on the schedule of unit factors that is for unit A11. So that means that it checks if the areas are correct before submission. That is for the sectional property. In this case, we can look at the cadastral shapefile. The attribute table of the cadastral shapefile is expected to have a FAR underscore number. And something to note is that these names are case sensitive. So use it in make sure you use lowercase in each and every letter. That is, there is the FR number. There is in this case, we don't need the LR number. We need the parcel number. And then that is, it's written FR underscore number, parcel underscore num, parcel underscore R, and ID. So make sure that all the fields have been named in lowercase. So something to note is all this has been represented, number 1, on the templates that we have shared. That is the templates on the FAQs, and also on the explanations under the FAQs. So kindly refer to that. Another thing that maybe I'll comment on is on the RIM availability. We are working towards that to make sure that maybe in the near future, the RIMs will be available on the platform. It's just that there are several things that needs to be done. I think I'll ask Chris to answer on conversion of long-term basis.
I think for us on the RIM, we have a digital cadastre as per now, which is updated every time you do a survey. The only thing you've not managed to create the RIM that is shared with the licensed surveyor. But what you can do on the sale of plans, you can go and get the sectional plans for that area. On the long-term leases, we already have a unique numbering system that you are being used. So in case you are doing a long-term lease, you'll apply for a long-term lease and not a sectional property, which does not confer ownership. As we had said, a long-term lease is a lease that is above 21 years. Anything less than 21 years, you don't have to georeference. I don't know if you're satisfied, Erastus?
Not quite, sir. In the opening statement, I think in the opening page, the one who is verifying is the developer, which means everything is coming out in the developer's name. However, yeah, here, applicant information details, developer. But, you know, there are instances where people are converting from long-term lease to sectional title, in which case that will not be the developer. It should be the name of all the unit owners. How do you handle that?
In that case, you need to have a cooperation. So the cooperation needs to be in place for the unit owners, so that they can do that. Because when you're converting, the developer now is out of the picture. The unit owners cannot come individually. Like if you have just a single unit, you cannot convert just a single unit. You have to come as a corporation and as a building, so to speak.
Okay. There's a question which was not answered. The next steps, that is now after this, how do we go about the land rent apportionment and eventually sectional title registration? Yeah, I'll say that again. Once the sectional plan has been approved, how do we progress to the next steps, which are land rent apportionment and sectional title registration?
Now, once you're done with the survey section, you apply for the registration. You need a new application for the registration of the sectional plans, which will go to the land administration department for the land rent apportionment. And even on the endorsement, there's somewhere they'll endorse, because the new plans have a section where the land admin and the land registrar endorse. They'll go and they'll apportion the rent. It will go to the registrar for the certificates of leases.
Thank you, sir. That's perfect.
A Galaxy S8, the incorporation was to be done by the ministry. No, I don't think that's the accurate position. The incorporation is done by the unit holders. What the ministry was doing at that time, he had given a free service for the georeferencing. So that is what was happening at that time. But you need to register your corporations as unit holders.
The multiple transactions, yes. The one that is live, we have not added the sectional property, but that will be deployed soon. So you'll be able to do multiple transactions that involve sectional properties.
So let me read some of the questions on the chat so that they can be responded to. We have a question from Nancy Mwangi. At what point will the county approve the plan? Maybe that was not clear. We can have a response to that. And then we have the one on multiple transactions has been responded to. There's a question from Benedict about how a client knows why the application has been disapproved. I've responded, but maybe we can have a repeat of the response so that everyone might be aware. So in case of disapproval, can the platform enable a comment that alerts someone on what the reasons for the disapproval were? There was this question. There are long-term leases exempted from application of the SPA under Rule 22 of its subsidiary legislation. Provides that leases where the reversionary interest is to be held by the management company as owner and not trustee for the owners are exempted from conversion. We are still directed to submit to SPA as advocates. Are we missing something? So that's a question from Sudi. I don't know if we can get a response on that. Then there's a question if an advocate can make this application. No, this application is limited to licensed surveyors on the platform. The advocates can do the SPA process at a different level when it's registration of the plans or registration of corporation, but at the survey bit, it has to be initiated by a licensed surveyor. So you can have the responses to the questions. Sam and Chris.
Okay, I'll start by the disapproval. Once your survey work is not up to the required standard, it will be returned to sender with the clearly stated reasons why it was not approved. So you'll get the notice immediately it's not approved, or if it's approved. So you'll know why exactly the reason why it was not approved. On the county endorsement, as I had previously said, right now the Ardhisasa is not connected with the county government. So what happens now? You take the sheet one where the endorsement was done previously on manual. Once it's endorsed, you scan it, and there's somewhere that you upload it. So once the person in charge of the county endorses your plan, the hard copy plan, you convert it to PDF, and it's endorsed. And that plan, you attach it on the endorsement document. So we'll see that it has been endorsed. On the exemptions to SPA, for the long-term leases and any land-based transaction on land has to be georeferenced. So whether it is a sectional property or a long-term lease, georeferenced. The only exception is a short-term lease. Anything less than 21 years does not need to be georeferenced. But if it's above 21 years, it must be georeferenced. Thank you. Also, the county endorses the plan prior to submission. So the page that someone was showing is on submission. So they have to sign first. After they have seen the architectural approved plan and the building permit, they'll sign the sectional plan, the sheet one of the sectional plan, and you attach that one. So it's prior to the application, so that you can apply when it's endorsed.
I don't know if we have any other questions from our listeners. I see one question by Boniface, which if you let us, we'll take it offline. So you can just chat and we'll get in touch after we conclude the webinar. So I don't know if we have any unanswered questions. Maybe we can have raised hands. Peter, could you ask your question? Or let me just read it out loud. The purpose of carrying out sectional property survey is to derive unit factors for each unit. Why is it not featured in your plan? So maybe you can talk about the schedule of unit factors.
So if I take that question, yes, it is to derive the unit factors. And from what we have seen on the schedule of unit factors sheet, that is on the compilation file, and under the schedule of unit factors, we can see we have the unit factor here, which will be part of the plans that will be produced upon plotting by the cartographer. So at this particular point, the licensed surveyor has already provided all this information within the compilation file. So that means that the unit factor will be there. And then after the plans have been plotted and approved within the Survey of Kenya, there is a plan that is going to contain the unit factor for each unit. Thank you.
Okay, this is Chris. On that question of what someone is showing is the competition sheet. The plan will be drawn by the cartographers at the Survey of Kenya. So what he showed there will also feature on the plan. Just the usual way it's done on the manual platform.
Okay, so we have two other questions. We have a question from Nancy, whose hand is up. So I don't know if we read out your question or you just ask the question. Nancy?
Let me ask the question. Is that okay?
Yes, we can hear you, Nancy.
All right, because I was not able to complete the question. My concern was when the titles are out, I have noticed that the sectional plan that is indicated, if for example it's 537/3, they only indicate 537, so the stroke part is not usually indicated. So my question is, because if you go back to Survey of Kenya, the series of survey plans that are 537 stroke are so many. So how do we specifically then indicate the actual sectional plan for the sectional titles? Because I have realized I don't write the stroke part.
Thank you for your question, Nancy. Chris, will you be responding?
On the sectional plan, you need the folio and the register number to find that plan. To the best of my knowledge, it captures both. Maybe they put the folio at the top and the register at the bottom. Nancy? Or is it on the title?
Sorry, I'm talking about the title.
Or you're talking about the sectional list?
Yes, because it's actually something I raised with one of the registrars.
Yes.
And her response was that that's the way it is done. But now my concern is if it is only indicated as 537 and the folio number is not given, you know, we have so many survey plans with that number. So are we specifically identifying the actual sectional plan used to register that sectional title?
If it's not captured on the list, it's an oversight.
Yes, it is not.
Yeah, we shall contact the registration section immediately on that.
Yeah, I think that's something you need to follow up.
Thank you so much, Nancy.
All right.
So I'm just going to read the last round of questions. There's a question here. What happens to long-term leases for maisonette, townhouses, warehouses, and go-downs? I think this was responded to. We can just repeat that in case it was not clear. Then there's another question. What if the project was done before the Sectional Properties Act and subleases already issued for bungalows without the approved drawings in place by the developer? What happens? Do they get exemption not to produce the approved drawings when converting to sectional titles? I think those questions are related. They will be addressed. Then there's a question from Kimani Cairo. Is the Lands Office still registering manually transfers of long-term leases for apartments where the main title on the ground has been gazetted for conversion? So maybe I can respond to the last question by Kimani Cairo. No, there are no manual transfers being registered for long-term leases. After the parcel has been gazetted for conversion and the 90-day period has matured, the manual transactions on that register are no longer supposed to continue. So right now they would expect conversion to be done so that processing can be done for those parcels. So the question on the long-term leases will be responded to, and if there are no other questions, I think we should be concluding.
On the question, what if the project was done before sectional properties and there are no approved plans? If the building is not approved, then that's an illegal building. You cannot do a sectional property on an illegal building. You don't know the structural strength. Plus, you won't get the endorsement from the county government. So, sectional property and long-term leases are only done on approved buildings. What happens to long-term leases for maisonette townhouses? The long-term leases continue, as I said. You can register sectional property on a long-term lease. So on the sectional property, the owner gets full ownership, but on the long-term leases, it does not confer ownership. Both are done, both can be done, but they have to be georeferenced. That's the key. You have to georeference even the long-term leases. How do we deal with properties in Nairobi that have not been gazetted for conversion? I think for that, you should contact the customer care to be given the full list of conversion, because conversion is ongoing and you'll be guided on that one. Any other questions? On the time it takes, a lot of people are asking on the time it takes at Survey of Kenya. And if everything is in order, the way Samuel has guided you, and everything is operating well, and you put the data as it's expected, you should not stay on the platform for more than a week. Let's have a look at the chat and see if there's any more questions, then we'll respond. There are people who are asking for sharing of the presentation. I don't know if that is possible, Samuel.
I think we'll find a channel on how we are going to share the presentation. Also, something to note is we have a YouTube tutorial that shows you how to maneuver around the system up to making the application that is a sectional property application and any other survey application. So if I'll make sure that if the YouTube link is not yet available on the live platform, it will be there. But for all services that are there should have a YouTube link on a step-to-step guide on how you do it. Also on the sample templates, I think based on the data that you're preparing, the sample templates will, which are on the template side, each and every application will be very helpful. That is on the FAQ. On the live platform, you'll find all practical templates that for jobs that have gone through the system. So I think I answered that. We have sent the sectional YouTube link. Yeah, so kindly you can use it to watch the tutorials that is for the session.
In addition, for all the surveyors, if you have any issue, and visit Survey of Kenya. Any surveyor that has a job and there's any problem, you can visit Survey of Kenya. We'll assist you in how to upload it.
So we've shared the YouTube link on the chat. The sample templates are captured on the platform. Maybe if you need to access them, if you're not able to access them on the platform, you can let us know and we'll see how to share this with you. Also, worth noting is that this online platform, this online webinar may not be sufficient to capture what is required of you during this application. So we are welcome to conduct trainings with licensed surveyors in your firms, or if you have an organization where you meet, you can request us for a training. I will share the email address through which you can make that request, and we can avail ourselves to train you, especially through the data preparation and just to show how different survey processes are done. So if you have this need, feel free to get in touch through the email address I'm going to share on this chat. Thank you.
Okay, Scarlett, I can see you're asking whether you can upload an AutoCAD drawing. No, you cannot upload an AutoCAD drawing. They use shape files, and on the approvals and the endorsements, you use PDF. Well, there being no other questions, I'd like to close this meeting. Can I ask a volunteer to close with a word of prayer? Before that, someone is asking us to share the email for training. Okay, as the moderator of this meeting, I'd like to thank everyone. For any other questions, anytime you can contact the customer care or visit us at Survey of Kenya. We put there for training. The email is there. Anytime you need training, you can ask for training. And there are some ones that should be scheduled and will be communicated to you. So I'm still waiting for the volunteer for the prayer, the closing prayer.
Let us believe. Father God, we thank you for being with us throughout this webinar. We thank you so much for enabling us to have an opportunity to sit together and discuss matters affecting our work. And we pray that as we continue to implement this and other technologies in this industry, that you continue to guide us and give us coherence and enable us to be good ambassadors of your work in the positions that you have placed us. As we disperse, we pray that you disperse us with your blessing and that we may all have a good day blessed by you. This I pray, believing and trusting in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Okay, thank you and have a good day.